Howdy everyone, how you going? I'm interrupting the sort of flow of things because the last video I did was from my online event, but that one's still got a few weeks to run, whereas this one was a like an over-the-board event, so it all happened over the last weekend. So I'm recording all the battle reports for this one, and I'll just sort of, wait, I guess, until the other ones all sorted out before I upload those, I guess. In terms of lists that I took to this event, it was an 18-person tournament, and I've just taken the same thing that I've taken to the online event because I'm trying to figure out whether the regen-heavy beast herds works. By regen-heavy, I mean the two characters in the Chariot start having regen saves to benefit from the Druidism +1 thing. So, if you want more detail on my list, I think I talk about it a little bit in my last video. I don't really want to go into it again here. But essentially it's Chariot start, 2 ambushing Wildhorns, a block of Mongrels, a blocker of Banner of Speed, Great Weapon Centaurs, some Chaff, 2 Gore-Tax, and a Beast Giant. My round 1 opponent was a pretty tough matchup, both in terms of player and list. So I had Jamie, who's probably the second best player in Australia. Yeah, I reckon I'd say that. And he was bringing a tried and tested KOE list. Not his tried and tested KOE list, it was Tricket's list that Jamie's just basically stolen because it works. But basically what it has is it has a Lord on Hippogriff that has the strength 8 on the charge thing and like 7 attacks. A BSB on Hippogriff with Tristan's Resolve and Ghostly Guard. A Paladin on a Phase Steed. 12 Feudal Knights, 12 Knights Resplendent. Some Chaff, a Lady's Courtier, and Green Knight. So, first of all, it's basically single models. It's like the 2 Hippogriffs, the Paladin, and the Fey Knight and Lady's Courtier are going to do most of the heavy lifting in the list. The other Knights are sort of like, the Knights Resplendent can hit pretty hard in the charge, but in general, it's sort of like they're probably not doing the bulk of the fighting I expect in this list. It does have a pretty weak magic phase, though, because it's got Bound Rod of Battle, Bound Hereditary, and then Awaken the Beast on the Lady's Courtier. So it's only got 3 spells, and 2 of them are bound, so it's a pretty poor magic phase, but to be honest, the list doesn't need much of it with the strength of those single models. How is that BSB only 580 points? Yeesh. Anyway, I was being told that this was like a roll over me kind of list, and I thought that I probably had better chances than that. I don't really like the matchup particularly, but I think essentially my view of it is if I play it well, I should be able to get chances in the game. Mainly because my single models, like my Gore-Tax, are quite good. My Chariots can probably, because I've got better magic, go toe-to-toe with those Lords. Probably not multiple at once, but if he were to send one in, I'd sort of back my Beast Lord to hold his own in that fight. And the Centaurs are really scary for all of those single models, and they're so fast, they got the Advanced 9, that they're a really good zoning tool. So I thought it would be pretty hard for me, I think, to push at him, but in terms of like controlling the board and not just completely falling apart to all these single models, I thought I had pretty good chances at that, basically. So this is the first picture I took. The next pictures are actually going to be from the other side, just because the lighting was much better. You can see the open window basically behind us that gives all that light. So the objective was hold the center, and the deployment was encircle. I won the roll for sides, so I can't 100% remember why. I think mainly the sides were pretty even, as far as I saw it, because this hidden away in the bottom left corner is impassable, same as over there. So sides I think were pretty even, but I didn't really want him having a wall on his side, and figured I could maybe use that defensively myself, so it was better that. And I took big center because I think, particularly with hold the center, it's like just the obviously best choice. Then my opponent deployed first. This must be after Vanguards, but I think before anything else. And essentially all I did to counter-deploy him was I made sure that these single models couldn't get out of the Centaur's line of sight. They could obviously hide behind the hill, but they couldn't sort of shoot down to the left there and start threatening down. Same thing with the Gortak on the right. My dogs, I Vanguarded them up just to cause trouble. I was like, early, I want to push, like, if you want to declare a long charge on them or something, I can probably pull you out of position. Or if I hold there, I've got good counter charges. And then otherwise in my next turn, I can park him in front of something and give myself extra space. I don't 100% remember my plan with the Giant here, but I think he was pushed... Oh, actually, I pushed him forward purely to make it more difficult for these Yeomen to chaff both the Gortak and the Centaurs. So rather than having like a straight line across from them, I pushed him up just so that he didn't have that space to string him out like that. What's next? This looks like I haven't moved. This looks like it's the same picture from the other angle, actually. So I think this is just a better lighting version of that picture. Okay. So this is after his moves. His Lady's Courtier over here is... Oh, I should explain which these single models are. So Lady Courtier is over here. Just sort of hoping to get down a flank, but also occupying that Gortak. His 7 attack Strength 8 Lord is over here. These are Feudal Knights. These are Knights Resplendent. No? Yeah, those are the Knights Resplendent. Those are Feudal Knights. Up here is the Paladin on Face Steed. This is the BSB Hippogriff, and over here is the Green Knight. So as you can see, he's being pretty cagey with it. He doesn't want to come too close, given that I am quite fast and I still have pretty dangerous combat threats. So yeah, he's just, I guess, slowly advancing his position. Then we look at my turn 1. I have gone up with these dogs and chaffed one of his blocks, basically to give myself space here. Can't remember how far this was, but I think it's deceptively... This picture makes it look a lot closer than it is, I think. Why did my Giant chaff over here? Frankly, I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe it was just a thing again where, like, if he charges the Giant with one of his blocks, I've got some counter charges with Mongrels who are pretty decent. I'm not really sure why I needed to chaff here. But the Giant ended up there. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure I had a plan at the time. I'm not sure if it was a good one. In fairness, the Giant is not very good in this matchup because he's got such low AP. So, I expected at some point in the game to be using him as chaff. I might have had some flea ideas there. Anyway, I don't know why he ended up there, but basically, as you can see, I'm advancing a little bit in the middle. I'm still just trying to zone out here and make sure that things aren't getting down into my flanks, is essentially what my plan is, because my broad view of the game at the moment is if I can keep my flanks secure, I have pretty good ways of holding down this center, because it's hard for him to come into the center with my Chariot Star, with my Mongrels, and with my Gortak there staring down. So, particularly because I'm going to get my ambushes on at some point, realistically, any of these units, if they get them in the flank or the rear, I'd expect the Wildhorns to win, break steadfast. Yeah, because none of these units are all that good. I mean, what you'd get if I flanked you, which is, I guess, the better thing for him, he'd get 4 attacks. These guys, they must be 4 deep, I don't know. You get 4 attacks from riders, hitting on 4s, winning on 4s. Horses are winning on 4, hitting on 4s, winning on 5s. So what's that? That's like 1 wound from the riders, maybe a wound from the horse on each of them. So I've already got charge flank, and then I'm ahead by big flank, 1 rank still, and a banner, and a charge. And then maybe he's got an extra banner in there, but like, realistically, that's not something that you want to allow to happen. So that was my general thing, where once I get the ambushes on there, I'm threatening him from behind. And And then hopefully my idea is I'm not really thinking that I can be aggressive and kill much in this game, but if I take the space and I take the center, win the center, lose some chaff, have a close game, basically. This is after, I think, both of our turns. So essentially what's happened here, or both of our movement phases at least. One thing that we misplayed, and I don't know if you figured it out now or the next turn, but Jamie thought his courtier only was advanced 12, but because he has the upgrade that makes it 16. So we were playing it for the first couple of turns as though it was advanced 12, which meant that I had a little bit more room with my Gortak to have an easier time zoning out there. So basically, his Green Knight charged my Giant, didn't kill it, and then I rallied. He chaffed my Gortak, and I realized I just decided I need to get rid of these yeomen somehow, right? So I charged him, had my counter charges set up, but I also knew that, you send a couple of these characters in. I've chaffed the Lance and I've chaffed the Green Knight, or at least I will once my magic phase comes in and I can move. I do a magical move to do that. So if he sends the Paladin and the BSB in, there's a decent chance that my Gortak doesn't die and gets to strike back at one of them. And that's a decent chance to kill him, basically. And then if, as well, I've got these Centaurs set up for a counter charge. So I sort of went, I'll take this risk. I'll clear out this chaff. If you do decide to charge me, it's very reasonable chance that, particularly because I'm steadfast, not stubborn anymore, but in that combat I'd be steadfast. There's a very reasonable chance that you just end up losing these characters because the Gortak's hard to kill. His general over here came and chaffed the Wildhorns. Basically chaffed, but knowing that he would win the combat if I charged him. His Resplendence turned around to face my Wildhorns. Basically, he's decided I have to sell out here and make sure I don't get flank or rear charged by these boys. That's mainly all that's happening. I've moved my Mongrels up so that they're within 6 of the center, because they will start scoring from this turn, basically. I went second, so I guess this is basically a point for me. My Gortak actually failed to kill the fucking yeoman. So he got dragged down to a worse position for him, which was a little bit more... He killed all but one, so he got dragged down to here, which was a little bit in the way of the Centaurs, but what will essentially happen next is that he then pivots. So I think my concern was basically that if they killed him, they could get through and not be countercharged at all by the Centaurs. So I turned him like that to basically go, come in, like, if you charge me, come into my Centaurs, bad things will happen. Is my hope, at least, after I buff them. Particularly because he could easily fail either of these charges, I think. I think they were, like, middle distance. Yeah. That's that. So... Alright. Whatever this is his courtier basically beat up the Wildhorns here and they ran away. I fled from the Knights Resplendent because I had no chance of actually beating them in combat. And this means that they're basically stuck doing nothing for longer. Unfortunately, my Gortak did die, and he did like 1 wound to the Paladin, I think. Paladin got into my Centaurs, but the Griffin did not. And I charged the what are these? Feudal Knights with my Mongrels. Basic hope there being, 1, if I win, they'll go through the Resplendence. BSB's over there. Easy chance that they, Leadership 9, reasonable enough to fail. I'll be getting my 2nd point for the objective at the end of this turn, which means I just need enough threats here to keep him out of the center. But I was feeling the pinch at this point. Basically because, these Centaurs are now not guarding this flank. I've lost a Gortak. It's starting to look a little bit sketchy, but I still have quite a few plays. If my Centaurs hold long enough, good chance that I can charge in. I don't know why I ended up not doing that. I don't know. And essentially what happens with this Mongrel combat is, despite activating my Strength 4 banner, I just lose to the feudals. Which sucked, unfortunately, because it meant that I was going to get nothing from doing that. I think I just underestimated the feudals in that situation. I think I was like, charge, 3 ranks, banner. You've got 2 banners. Surely we do a roughly the same amount of wounds as each other. When I'm charging you, I'll be AP 2, I'll be wounding you on 3s and hitting you on... Actually, let's do the maths. I'm going to pause this for a second, I'm going to figure it out. Yeah, so I think I got the maths wrong, because it's essentially I should do about 3 wounds to him, he should do about 6 wounds to me. Which, I mean, I guess if I do 3 wounds to him, it's less wounds that he's coming back at me. But anyway, even if I win by, that's me losing by 3 on, on wounds, cancels out my ranks, and then his 2 banners mean that it's equal to my banner and my charge. So, on average there, it's actually not as likely that I win, which surprised me. And I mean, I could obviously buff there to push it in my favour, but the Centaurs needed the buffs more. So, it is what it is. What comes next? Yeah, and then I just basically reform over here, so that these guys are coming into the front or whatever. Centaurs also reform, so if the BSB comes in, he has to maximize against them. And then what happens? Oop, this is I think this is the last picture. Oh, let's just see before okay. Rotate left. Okay, so a lot of things have basically happened. The Centaurs ended up dying, but they killed the Paladin. The BSB came over and chaffed my Chariots. I charged him. I did 1 wound, unfortunately. I did get Stone Skin and Healing Waters up, which is pretty good. And then he ended up countercharging me. This guy failed. He needed like a 10 reroll, but he failed it. My Gortak had charged his Feudal Knights after the Mongrels failed to deal with them, and the Gortak also failed to deal with them, which feels a lot worse. I think I killed 1. And I didn't even roll that poorly. That was just like saves went through the roof. And then these guys got in their flank, and it was like the other Feudal Knights, and it was just all over for poor old Gortak. But the Chariot Star did stick in and stick alive, so the Beast Lord in a challenge killed the BSB, and the other guy, like the Courtier in the flank, couldn't even fight because he was only touching a model that was in a challenge, now don't rank and file. And then this guy actually charged, so he didn't have to touch the guy in the middle and was only touching the BSB. But he might have done a wound or something, but nothing important happened over there, basically, because this was where we finished the game. It was only turn 5, unfortunately. But at this point, we were 2-all on the objective. I did, at the end of this combat, kill his BSB. The Courtier ran, which I think is a mistake, 'cause I think it's actually Supernal. And the Green Knight was just, like, hanging in and being happy. So, I mean, turn 6 would have been... I don't know. Basically, I would have hopefully killed the Green Knight. And then turned after combat and just, like, seeing if I could tank everything. There's a good chance that I can tank everything. Depending on how my magic goes. In my opinion, at least. Because he doesn't bring that much static res to bring. I don't know. It's pretty sketchy. Not 100% sure. But basically what we did in the end was I went, look, there's no way I'm getting you off this objective for turn 6. So let's just give you the objective. So unfortunately, it didn't go my way. There are a few things I think that were very important that didn't work out. One of them was this Gortak charging the Feudal Knights and not getting rid of them. Because that one, I mean, realistically just lost me a Gortak. But also didn't get me those points that I wanted. And I think, because it was, at that time, they might have been the only unit that, oh no, these guys maybe were within 6. I don't know where the objective is. Potentially they were the only unit within 6 of the objective. In which case, that would have meant, because I charged a Gortak in my turn, he didn't get a point that turn. But it is what it is. So what else went badly that I thought could have gone better? So do I have it? No. So when these guys charge the Gortak, the Paladin and the BSB, I mean, the Paladin strikes last because he's got a great weapon. So whatever. The BSB's only strength 5 and like 4 attacks. So 4 hitting on 2s, wounding on 5s is maybe 1 or 2. Hippogriff is hitting on 3s, wounding on 5. So maybe between them they do 3 wounds at a bit of a stretch. The Paladin with 4 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounding on 4s. Maybe with the breath weapon of his mount as well thrown in. Like, I think odds are it's probably around about 5. But 6 is very reasonable to do. But that's one of those things where it's like, I feel like I'm in a bad matchup. If that had gone well, that is sort of the break. I need a little bit of luck to get something good out of this, and that's the sort of thing that could have like saved me, I guess. If the Gortak had attacked a little bit better, killed the Paladin potentially before it struck, a whole different story. Because I mean, I think the Paladin's got a 4-up Aegis save. But I think, particularly with the multi-wins, I think the Gortak's a pretty good chance there to kill him. So I think that could have easily gone my way, in which case I'm in a much, much better position. Particularly because my Centaurs can still zone and stuff, and I think, this position's a little bit... I should have had a counter charge here, and it didn't work out because the Gortak only killed 4 yeomen, so it would have been a better position, but, whatever. It is what it is. That could have gone my way. The Centaurs, when they were only fighting the Paladin here as well, I got my Beast Lord over to give them Leadership 9 for their Primal Fury. They still failed it. If they'd passed that, I'm pretty confident, based on how the dice were, that Paladin would have been dead. Which forces the BSB to deal with them. So keeps a scoring hitter on the board for me to sort of dart in here. There's basically, I think, 3 pretty crucial things there that were quite close and went against me, that if they went the other way, would have really changed the outcome of the game. Which I think is something that you need when you're in a kind of bad matchup. You need... Unless you're just like sort of hiding and conserving points, you need a little bit of luck. You need to take some risks and have those risks pay off. I think less so the Gortak at the end, but that section that all happened around here with the Gortak and the Centaurs, I think a little bit of luck in any of the situations there, and I actually am in a much stronger position. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. And I mean, I'm sure overall, like, I haven't identified any glaring ones, but obviously it wasn't a perfect game from either me or my opponent. So there are things that we could have each done better, and maybe I shouldn't have even had those chances. I'm not sure, but the end result was unfortunately a 17-3 loss, which wasn't how I really wanted to start the tournament, but it was a really, really fun game. Jamie, great opponent. And the game was very, very sort of tactical and movement intensive. So it was more so, I guess, from him, because I was playing quite defensive. So we sort of had to find a way to break through. But yeah, I did also find, and this is a change that I already know that I want to my list, but Talisman of the Void I don't think is as valuable to this list as the Beast Herd Hereditary. So, Magical Heirloom, I should say. So I want to fit Magical Heirloom in, take away Talisman of the Void, and what that would have allowed in this matchup is for me to take the damage spell. So the damage spell early on would have been quite good to threaten his chaff. And maybe force him to make some decisions. Because if I'd killed that chaff, the situation with the Gortak here is completely different. So I really want, but I feel like I obviously need to take in this list Stone Skin and Regen, and I feel like I need to take the heal spell, because being able to bring back a wound on the Chariot Star, one of the characters in the Chariot Star, I think is quite important. So I'd really want to have that 4th spell without losing the magical movement threat from the base Hereditary. So ideally, when I play this list again, if I play this list again, I'll play some variant, I'm sure, but if I play Druidism again, I'll take it with the Magical Heirloom and give me that 5th spell, which I think is actually surprisingly important. But anyway, next round after this, I will have some Vampires of Aktars. So I will catch you around for that one, guys. Thanks for being here.